Serunye, my proposal was
Yeah.
for us to look at your summary that you've done in the statement.
Okay.
So at
It's on
paragraph
page-
51,
Paragraph
page
51, thanks.
15,
Okay, yes.
you see in short.
Correct. In a nutshell, that email I'm repeating here by page 51 of my affidavit, rather paragraph 51 of my affidavit, where I'm saying, in my reply of 17 August 2025, I set out my analysis of section 4 of PRECA. In short, section 4, subsection 1, paragraph A contemplates a public officer who accepts gratification from another person, and section 4.1b contemplates a person who gives gratification to a public officer. On the state's own allegation, the position was the other way around. It was alleged that the generals, in brackets, who were public officers, gave the gratification in the form of employment to the civilian, Ms. Mokwele, without it being shown that what Ms. Mokwele was thereby to do. That allegation does not fit the wording of section 4. I further explained that the presumption in section 24 did not assist on the available facts, since it would have been available only had Ms. Mokwele been the giver of the gratification to the generals. I concluded that the corruption charge, as it stood, was defective and did not comply with the definitional elements of PRECA, and was liable to be challenged in terms of section 85 of the Criminal Procedure Act. I remained of the view that if corruption were indeed present, its existence depended upon establishing a motive or quid pro quo through further investigation. The bank statements, cell phone records, and computer data of those concerned, and any family or other relationship between them, and that, absent such a motive, a charge of corruption could not properly be sustained. This work had not been done before the arrests were effected. Taken together, the questions I raised remain unanswered on the material in the docket. The significance of this is twofold. First, it demonstrated that the arrest had been premature. As I put it in my correspondence at the time, the matter had been rushed to court when it was not ready. Second, and more fundamentally, the nature of the unanswered questions demonstrated that the preliminary investigation had not been properly conducted. Alternatively, that there was no case. These were not peripheral queries. They went to whether the essential elements of the offense charged could be established at all. I also raised the question as to the basis upon which the matter fell within IDEC's mandate. I record for completeness that I considered a matter of this seriousness involving senior officers in the intelligence environment to be one that could be appropriately be handled within the IDEC space, whatever difficulties attended the matter in which it had in fact been investigated and prosecuted.
I want you to go to PS 11 on page 102.
I'm there, Commissioner.
Are you there, Advocate Serunye?
Yes.
It's an email that you sent to your colleagues on the 26th of August, 2025. Do you see that?
I see that, Commissioner.
And the very first question you ask after the greetings, but this relates only to the Lushaba matter as I see it, doesn't relate to both of them. But you ask the main questions, colleagues, does this case fall under the mandate of IDEC?
Indeed, Commissioner.
So this is maybe 2 weeks after you came into possession of the dockets. You were already concerned about IDEC's mandate.
Indeed, Commissioner.
Now, going back to the Mokwele/Khumalo matter, once you discount the corruption, which you say, as far as you're concerned, based on your understanding of PRECA,
yes,
it just wasn't there. So if you remove corruption and you leave whatever that remains, would that fall within the mandate of IDEC?
Definitely not, Commissioner Khumalo, because if I discount the corruption, then let's say what I'm left with is fraud, and that will be the fraud against the civilian.
Yeah.
Because in that case, then the generals would have been my witnesses, that is the persons to whom the representations were made. And it's clearly a lower court matter, a regional court, maybe district court even. It
And
clearly did not
you
belong.
can't have it both ways. You can't say they colluded and then they were defrauded.
Yes. If I'm ending up with a fraud, they are victims. They've been defrauded as well. They've been misrepresentation made to them.
Yeah.
Then I cannot charge them with her. But if the investigations which I wanted them to do, where I'm asking questions, on your theory, if there's corruption, then there's collusion. If things did not happen this way and happen that way, if the national instructions were breached, then we're talking collusion. If I were to say, yeah, but these high-ranking officials in the intelligence unit, could they not pick up, if there was fraud, could they not pick up this fraud? And if I come to the conclusion that they closed their eyes to it, then that means they colluded with her. That is why then the collusion. But that would have been if the evidence points to that. But on your initial question, if I ended up only with fraud, then clearly doesn't belong in the IDEX space. It was not, even the magistrate questioned it on the first appearance. He said, this is not that kind of fraud or corruption that I deal with on a daily basis.
And you would have had to send it to an HR person, as you say. An HR person would have had to assess whether, is this a misrepresentation or is it a simple case of people interpreting a provision differently? The reason why I'm asking you this, maybe we should deal with it now so that we don't come back to it. If you go to file 2, on page 179, I know you had it next to you
Yes,
there.
I did. On page
179.
179. I'm there, Commissioner.
The first bullet that you see on page 179 says, must have a minimum period of 3 years appropriate managerial experience, and this is the important part, in the field of the post. So not just any managerial experience in the field of the post. And then when you go to page 60 of your statement, your annexures on page 60.
Is that paragraph 60?
Paragraph 17.
17.
60, page 60.
Okay.
It is PS6.
Yes, I'm going there.
And then paragraph 17.
I'm looking at 17,
Yes.
Commissioner.
So the definition of appropriate managerial experience, it comes from clause 2 of the National Instruction 11 of 2017.
Sure.
And it defines that as experience at a level higher than the supervisor. That's all it says. It doesn't say you must have been a manager at your job. Because if you were a manager at your job, then you would have to say, at my employment, I was a manager. So if you go back to 178,
Yes.
if an advocate had applied for this position, for example, and it was an advocate who's been practicing for 20 years at the bar, the education qualification would be there, LLB. And then when it comes to this requirement, he would have to tell you, because there are no managers at the bar, I can tell you that. But I would have to then explain to you why my experience is an appropriate experience at a level that justifies appointment. And I assume it's the same if somebody was a prosecutor for 25 years. They may not have been managers at NPA, but because they meet the educational requirements, now what you want to know is, do you have the appropriate managerial experience for the role? Not that you must be a manager at your job.
True.
Now, I don't know if you have file 3 with you.
I have it.
On page 908.
I'm on that page.
If you start on 907, what you have is the job description of Ms. Mokwele at BMW.
That is correct.
On 907.
That is correct.
And then it describes the role, maintenance and fastening planner. And then there's the job description, job valuation, PZP3. If you go to 908,
I'm on page 10.
there is then the description of the role, and halfway down the page, you will see that role of the described function, please check where appropriate. Do you see that?
I see that.
And
Commissioner.
then there's a tick, she's an employee, and then project management and functional leadership. So that is since 2007, that is the role.
Yes.
And then if you go to the next page, 909, it sets out the key responsibilities of this person. It's a lot of them,
Yes.
it's about 16. Now, all of them are leadership in nature because they're about directing, they're about leading, they're about controlling, they're about being responsible, they're about being responsible, they're about being responsible. Do you see all of those?
I see that, Commissioner.
So they are not about, no, somebody will tell you what to do and you will do it. This function requires that she be responsible for all those things.
Yes.
So it was her responsibility to make sure that the people below her, whether they report directly to her or indirectly, make sure that those things happen.
Indeed.
And then one has to interpret whether that qualifies as appropriate management experience. And as you say, an HR person should have done this. But what IDEC people did was they went and obtained a 4 July 2025 affidavit from Mr. Simon at BMW. But the question they asked is the wrong question because their question was, is Ms. Mokwele
Was she
a manager at BMW? But that's not what the role requires.
Yes.
As you quoted the instruction on page 60 of your, it's appropriate experience at a level above the supervisor. That's all you are required to show.
True.
But those are HR matters that somebody who's steeped in HR is better placed to deal with, including, for example, the public service, the PSC, the Public Service Commission. It's not for IDEC investigators to say, you are a manager or you are not a manager.
I fully concur with you, Commissioner Khumalo. That is why I said to them, get an HR expert and take all the 76 applications. Look at them. It's not up to us to say this one qualified, this one not. Yes, there are those that, on the face of it, when you look at the application, the person would have been disqualified because they don't have the necessary qualification or the application was received late. Those
And
are
then
straightforward.
it becomes a matter of interpretation if you go back to 909, whether somebody who has done that for, let's say, from 2017 to 2024, that's about 7 years?
Yes.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can say, does that then qualify as appropriate managerial experience as defined in the national instruction. So that's how one should deal with it.
I concur, Commissioner.
And quite rightly, you said we are not qualified to do this. Get an HR person to analyze these things and give us an answer. And you say that was not done.
It was not done, Commissioner. It was not done.
Thank you.
And I agree with what you're saying, Commissioner, that looking at the functions, it's a question of interpretation. Some of these responsible for valuation of statistical data, and these are not
Chair,
functions that you can give.
Chair has just directed me on 909.
909, yes.
One of those bullet points, I think it's number 5. It says leads special projects and technical related project teams.
Yes,
That's a leadership role.
it is. Indeed, it is, Commissioner.
Advocate Baloyi is referring me to another one, so it's the same one. Oh, it says from all departments and levels, including management. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see that, Commissioner. In fact, the majority of them, Commissioner, if you look at the being responsible to initiate and follow up on corrective actions, time and cost-wise. Most of these management-related.
So
And
most of the functions she was performing at BMW for a period of 7 years are of a management nature, although she did not occupy the official title or official position of manager.
I agree.
Because when you direct, control, and oversee, whatever your role is, you are managing. You are responsible for projects, you are responsible for people, you are responsible for ensuring that things get done.
Indeed, Commissioner.
So the question asked of the BMW person was a wrong question, because what he was asked was she a manager at BMW?
Yeah.
But that's not what the advert requires, and that's not what the national instruction requires.
Indeed, Commissioner. And I think maybe to add on what Commissioner is saying, they also underplay this role where, and I think it's common cause between her and Mr. Seyman, that she was having about 15 people that she was supervising, or at least teaching. It cannot be, that task cannot be given to the most junior of your officers.
Yeah.
Or even if you do, but that comes with a lot of responsibility, that you trust the person and they're imparting knowledge and skill. It's also a management function.
The mistake they made was not to show Mr. Simon the national instruction and to say to Mr. Simon, please tell us what Ms. Mokwele was doing at BMW. Is it experience at a level higher than the supervisor? And what were those functions? What they went there to ask was she in senior management for 7 years? That's a wrong question.
True.
And to then go to court and say she must be arrested for fraud because she doesn't have 7 years senior management experience. Before we even get to the charge sheet, just asking the court to authorize arrests on those facts, that is problematic.
I concur, Commissioner Khumalo. These are things that, it goes back to my earlier position that the investigation was rushed, or at least the arrest was rushed. These are issues that ought to have been dealt with and determined before arresting.
And to your credit, once you saw the docket, you asked these questions.
I did, Commissioner, because a lot didn't make sense, really, and I was worried that people have already been arrested, and not just your Jew, not that any person has to be arrested, but the most senior people in the police, and at a very sensitive unit for that matter.
Mrs. Serunye, you may well have answered in your way you started in this discussion with Commissioner Khumalo, but I just want to be clear about the position that you express in paragraph 54 of the statement. You raised a question on whether this matter fell within IDEC's mandate. But then you go on to say that you considered a matter of this seriousness involving senior officers in the intelligence environment to be one that can be appropriately handled within the IDEC space. That's a bit confusing for me. What are you conveying? What are you saying in paragraph 54?
Yes. Commissioner Baloyi, as seen on the other email with the Lushaba matter, I questioned whether this fell within the IDEC mandate. When one reads the docket right from the onset, you're seeing offenses, fraud, but then you go deeper into the merits. You don't have evidence. But that is why the first question is, does this really belong here? But if you were to follow these queries or find evidence of, let's say if they followed the queries, or even before I asked, they did an investigation and they found evidence of corruption, then I would have said, then that's where it comes up to say. But if you look at the role and rank of the officers, maybe I don't expect the district and regional courts to can handle a matter of that nature. But the problem is there was no evidence to back it up, to say this case belongs here. The allegations are serious when you hear of them, but once you start reading the docket, you don't find evidence to back those allegations. So if there was evidence of rigging of the applications and the unlawful appointment of a person who was going to occupy a position paying her over R1 million a year, and there was collusion with the police, definitely it would have met the criteria of the IDEC. That is what I'm trying to say in the thing. But the problem is that there's no evidence. Even if one were to say we're transferring it to the lower courts were still going to sit with the same problem of, but where's the evidence to prove all these allegations?
Is another way, I'm just trying to understand what you were saying here, is another way of what you're saying in paragraph 54, that if the allegation of, because this case is about gratification, that's how they formulated it.
It's true.
Are you conveying in 54 that if we can make out a case for gratification considering that it involves these senior officials, the matter would fall within the mandate of the IDEC? Is that what you're saying?
That is the message I'm trying to convey, Commissioner Baloyi, that it would have been meeting this requirement of corruption involving high-level persons to a point that it then falls within the mandate of the IDEC.
Okay.
But it didn't come close to that. At least with the evidence, I would have expected right from the onset the person who read the docket or those, after compiling the evidence, once they said and presented, a decision ought to have been taken there and there to say, look, let's refer this matter to the lower courts if there's evidence of prosecuting somebody with anything, because it doesn't also help to refer the matter to the lower court to say, deal with this problem for us. There's no evidence. See what if we can make a decision ourselves at IDEC to say there's a case or there's no case. If there's no case, we close it. We make our report. Why are we saying there's no case, and we file the documents. If there is a case, then we prosecute. But there was, for me, there was no evidence backing up those allegations.
Now, Ms. Johnson was asked more than once whether the way things developed up to the point where these generals and brigadiers arrested and then presented to court, and they're getting these postponements, ongoing postponements, whether no one in the office of the lawyers, an office which has many lawyers, whether no one ever raised concerns about the strength, whether firstly, whether this matter falls within ADEC's mandate, but two, the problems that we were discussing with her. You've discussed some of them with Commissioner Khumalo. What is gratification? Ms. Mukwele seems to have met the requirements. How do you have a charge of corruption and a preca gratification when you say that she would have done something in the future which is unknown? All of those were discussed with her. And then she was asked more than once, does this mean no one in your office ever raised concerns about this case, the merits of this case and the mandate of IDEC? And she firmly said, no, no one ever did. None of the lawyers. What do you say to that?
With respect to Advocate Johnson, I did. I raised, I think earlier we read one of my emails where I referred these queries to her. And it was not only that one email, but there's two, maybe even three others that I referred to her, where even with the Lushaba case. The Lushaba case is worse. That's why I'm saying. So I did. I don't know if maybe
So she was not being truthful.
Maybe she did not have my email communications to her, but I did. I raised my.
Do you have reason to doubt? Do you have reason to doubt that she received your emails and your memos? Is
No,
there
she
reason that
received them.
She received
That
them.
I can confirm, because once I send an email, Innocence, and there's one email, for example, where she responds to me, when I'm asking her, should we serve at 28, or is this office, referring to her office, going to write a letter to the National Commissioner? I send it to Innocentia, but the ID then responds to me, saying serve at 28. So, and when I send an email, and this is the practice in the office, to the PA, if you see that you're not getting a response, you make a follow-up with the PA. Did you give my email to the ID? Sometimes you go straight to the ID's office, or call, or send the
So
email to her.
in short, she did become aware, she was made aware of concerns about this case, the Lushaba and the Mukwele matters.
She was. I did that personally.
And
I made her aware.
she was not truthful to us if she did say to us, as I say she did,
Yes.
that no one in the office raised concerns about this. She wasn't being truthful.
Commissioner, if that is what she said to this commission,
Then she was not being truthful.
I don't agree with that.
She was not being truthful.
She was not being truthful.
Thank
And I'm
you.
saying that with the utmost respect.
I
for
appreciate,
her.
I understand that. Thank you.